to the possibilities of YouTube.
There we go. We're live on YouTube as well. We're here with Janne Tamminen. We're going to talk about a previous episode that we had recorded here, episode 36, live streaming music venues. Janne actually is doing this idea that we had talked about. He started it well before we talked about it, but we didn't know about it at the time of recording the episode, and we thought it'd be fun to talk through Janne's experience with How Live and just hear how right and how wrong we were in our advice. Let me see what else we got for the checklist. Yeah, that's all that I got for prep. You ready? You guys ready to go?
Gotta go get something from the grocery store. I'll be back in 15 minutes.
Jan's a music man. You can say, like, keep us entertained. Looks like I'm coming in super hot on my mic. Is that the case for you? Are you hearing that?
It's all right.
Not too bad.
Nothing special. You're good.
Yeah, I'll move it back a little bit here. I should say to the viewer out there, as Ethan hates, to the viewer watching on Facebook or YouTube, this is behind the scenes of the Run With It podcast. We are going to have this all polished and cleaned up and published in a way that is a little bit more concise. If you would like to follow along and get that, search for Run With It in your podcast player of choice and subscribe to us there. We'd really appreciate the support that way.
Yeah. We'll airbrush my crow's feet. Be good.
That was too real, Ethan. Is that something you're actually concerned with over here?
I was going to make fun of you, but I was trying to think some way I could make fun of myself. I've had crow's feet since I was in high school.
Like 12. Yeah. Smile lines, right?
Mm-hmm. There you go.
All right, let's do it. Welcome to Run With It, the show that brings you untapped business ideas from successful entrepreneurs. My name is Chris Justin, and I'm here with Ethan Janne. Ethan, how you doing today?
Grumpy.
You're just dead set on being grumpy.
I like how saying that I'm grumpy makes me happy. So it's kind of like a nice oxymoron. But yeah. So I'm happy to be grumpy.
Well, your grumpiness has nothing to do with our guest that is here with us today.
That is true.
Tell us about Janne.
Yeah, sure. Well, I listened to his voice message, and it sounds like he pronounces his name Janne. I'm a little bit differently. The last name, I don't know that I paid as much attention. Tamminen, he'll maybe repronounce it for us later, but he's the co-founder at How Live Incorporated, which is a cutting edge live concert streaming platform built for the music industry. And he happened to have been building this, while we happened to be talking about the idea on Run With It. He came across our episode later. So it'll be interesting to talk to him. Janne, welcome to the program. Did I say that right?
Yes, almost. Yeah,
that's just a no.
When I said it, and I was like, that's not how I wanted to say it. It's like Janne.
That's better. Yeah.
There you go.
That's better.
I'm just going to go with the anglicized version.
So this called him John earlier. So he gave up on everything.
Yeah, exactly. This is an update type of episode. It's a little bit different than the typical Run With It episode where we have an entrepreneur bring us a new business idea. Janne listened to episode 36 with Chris Mead. And in that episode, we talked about how we start a business helping music venues and artists live stream their performances. Janne came across us somehow, who knows? And he's like, hey, I do that. That's exactly what How Live does. Let's listen back to episode 36, the clip there for how Chris Mead described this idea.
I was thinking it would be very, very cool to have a subscription service to specific venues. That way you have access to their venues and their shows, and all the venue would require is to have a camera crew or just a camera that's embedded, an audio guy, and then that live stream would go out. And it's either, the model would either be one, you pay on a per concert basis. Oh, my favorite band in the world is playing in New York City, this sold out show. I'm stuck here in Miami. I can't make it. $5, I could live stream in. or, oh, this venue's at overcapacity, they can't sell any more tickets, but they can sell eyeballs. So why would they not do that? And bands with a loyal following, they would 100% sell those access. I've been stuck here. I've watched 3 concerts on Instagram Live.
So there you go. That's kind of the way he laid out the idea. So for you, Jan, how does that match up with what's going on with your business?
Yeah, yeah. First of all, yeah, thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure. And it was, yeah, funny coincidence that I heard the episode and then listened to some other episode as well. And hey, that's exactly what we're doing. So yeah, so what you talked is about like 80% what we are doing right now. And there was a couple of like ideas that we are not doing right now, but they are on the like the product map in the future. We are still in sort of like beta stage, even when we have done this for almost 4 years now, like professional, like since the incorporation.
So you've been doing this for 4 years, and
Yeah.
I know, I actually have a project doing online education, and I thought, okay, this is the future, but it didn't take until the pandemic where people really started to have an appreciation for it and started
Correct.
to utilize it and respect it. I'm curious if you had the same experience and what that was like. Were you kind of one of those people who were like, I'm kind of glad there's a pandemic right now? But...
Yeah, yes, that is somewhat true. So we had a lot of like pilot programs going on, and the reason I came to the Bay Area, I figured like starting up a company would be easier in here. And also when I was living in LA, every venue was too short-sighted in my opinion, and here we found like more open-minded venue owners and operators who were like ready to experiment more than, because the music industry is quite old-fashioned, and we know that really well because everyone in the company is more or less a musician and has been like, I've been touring US and headlined a couple of festivals.
Sounds like a disaster, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Have a bunch of musicians together and ask them to run a business.
Yeah, but we're also like being in the tech industry all our lives, and I've been in my specialty is in the broadcasting side.
Cool.
So I'm curious. Actually,
there are some really successful tech entrepreneurs in general who just happen to play music too. So
yeah,
a
actually,
little bit of a generalization that I made there, but yeah.
Yeah, I was running a sort of like a small incubator here in Palo Alto for a while, and a lot of these like developers and coders were also playing some instruments, and we talked about it. Like it's like for some people, the coding is similar to composing music. You're composing something. So a lot of them were playing guitar or drums or something as well. And just like in our company, like the CEO, Gino, he's a very, very good jazz and like a multi-genre drummer. I play guitar, bass, and some other instruments. Josh, our one of the co-founders, he's a bass player, singer, and so on. And Marco, our developer guy in Finland, he owns a music studio.
I want to circle back to something that you mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Some of these music venues are a little bit old-fashioned and perhaps resistant to the idea. We talked about this. We highlighted this as a potential challenge of the idea in the episode with Chris Mead. We thought that maybe venues would think that if they live streamed their show, musician's show, then people wouldn't want to show up live or be less likely to, and they would lose out on revenue overall. Is that what you're hearing from venues? Are you hearing a different objection? What's going on with them being old-fashioned?
Yeah, we heard that quite a lot. Like they were concerned about, hey, is anyone gonna come to the show if we're live streaming it? And we tried to show them like, this is from my own, also like my own experience, how this everything got started. But so if somebody prefers to see a show on the phone, there's probably a good reason for it. Like the live shows are so intense when you actually are there, but the owners were still like worried about it. So we built a IP blocking system, so you can have like a 25-50 mile radius around the venue that is blocked. Like if you are in Denver and you can have, okay, nobody in Denver will be able to see the live stream. Of course, you can bypass with VPNs, but then you really need to know
Really
something.
need to care about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super
great.
smart, because I imagine that there's actually very few people who would try and do that, but
yeah,
that it would be a big way of assuaging that concern from music venues.
Yeah, but in the end, very few venues really like used it anyway, because they figured out so fast, okay, this is actually really good, like promoting and also like selling tickets to the future shows. And it also helps the bands when you're seeing a free live stream from somewhere else. Oh, they're coming to my town next week, I better go see them live, because the live experience is still the premium experience.
Yeah, that's an important thing that there's probably a pattern around with developing features for users that are more of an entry point feature where it assuages their fears. It's kind of like the old money back guarantee, right? It's like, okay, you can have your money back if you're not satisfied, but you're probably going to be satisfied. So we'll give the money back guarantee and just come on in and get started. And it sounds like one of those things, like if you didn't do that, people might have had too much resistance and never would have jumped on board and tried it out. But since you had that feature, which they probably would never use anyways, it just lowered the friction to them signing on.
Yeah, and when people saw them, like we were streaming, this was one of like a show. We didn't have our equipment at the Berkeley UZ Theater, and there was actually my friend's band Amorphis was Finnish death metal band was playing there, and it was almost like a sold out show. It's a 1,200, I think, capacity venue, and only within like 4-hour warning, we got the gear up and started streaming the opening acts, and by that time the bands were sharing the link to howlive.tv, and we didn't have a real-time like a viewer count back then, but in the end we figured, wow, there's 14,000 people watching online with just a few hours notice on the platform. And that was like the aha point for the bands as well, and they were like, we should probably stream every show, and they wanted me to come with them for the rest of the tour, but that wasn't possible back then. But anyway, they figured, oh wow, the audience can be 10 times more, so we need to have something for them as well.
Have they still felt that way? Let's say a year later now, are they still really gushing about the benefits of howlive.tv?
Yes, and they have been one of the pioneers. Like they did one 360 video live stream right after they got back home from the tour, and they've been like a pioneers. Some of the Finnish bands have been like a pioneers in the streaming.
The reason that I ask is, I guess this is driving toward the financial benefits for the bands. Are they seeing that they're actually making more money by using your platform?
Yes, we are becoming more like a pay-per-view platform now. There's a few free streams that people are doing, but they are also sponsored by somebody. Like the Club Fox here in Redwood City, they have like paid shows, ticketing through a platform, but sometimes the shows are free because they found a sponsor and they just want to sponsor the community and people to have like access to the music as widely as possible.
How much are you charging for a sponsorship?
Well, it's we are not the production company, so we don't do the streams. So it's always the venues, and while we are trying to help and having some kind of like a sponsor matching system on the platform built in, so you can pick, okay, there's like these reggae shows are coming up and you're a cannabis company and you want to promote to them, that kind of system. But in general, we don't deal with the sponsorships directly. It's always the venues or the artist, and a lot of them already have like the venues might have like a beverage companies like that are already kind of visible at the venue, so they might want to have, hey, we can sponsor your streams if you can get us 10 times more eyeballs that can ever come to the venue per night. So if there's a 3,000 people venue but they can have 20,000 eyeballs, the sponsors are definitely interested in that.
Speaking of beverage companies, this stream is being sponsored by KoolAid. Thank you, KoolAid. For sponsoring.
Does anyone drink KoolAid still?
I don't know. I wanted to come up with the most ridiculous beverage sponsor possible for this particular show.
But they are the most active sponsors in music industry and festivals and all that stuff. So we are taking some of the festival sponsoring like elements to live streams. There's been a lot of, especially before the pandemic, we had one example. It was somewhere in Seattle or something, not the Pacific Northwest, a 3-day festival which had like 60,000 people total, and the sponsor money was like millions of dollars that the sponsors are putting only for the 60,000 people, like a festival. Of course, the visibility is much more, but if you can have like a couple of live streams having 60,000 people, there's a chance if we can get even like a 5% or 10% of what the companies are putting in one festival, we would be still like super good on financials.
Yeah, let's double click on that a little bit here and get into these numbers. About how many users do you have, and ballpark, if you're comfortable sharing, ballpark revenue for you guys?
Well, we have done. We got revenue maybe 18 months ago when we're still in progress getting the ticketing system streamlined, but we started the pay-per-view a little bit over a year ago, I think, properly, and we have had about 150K revenue since then.
That's great.
And the revenue model is just you're getting revenue from the viewers who want to view, and I'm gathering that they'll view the recording maybe just as well as the live event, and then you're just doing a split with the venue, that the venue gets to make some extra revenue.
Correct. Yeah. So the venues are subscribing to our service, so there's a subscription fee, and they are happy to pay it. It's been, I think, 99 for these pilots, and then we have had like an event fee because there's still some like manual work we need to do to set up the graphics and overlays and stuff, and sometimes the venues don't even have like proper people to do all that stuff, so we are doing it for them if needed, so we're charging for that, and then we take a $1.20 to $2 per ticket. So the band can set their own like ticket price, or the venue can do it. And it's usually that the venues are doing all that work because they already have the contracts with the artists to play. Even pre-pandemic, they already have everything. And they just added like in the contract that, hey, do you want to live stream? Yes, no. Do you want to earn more money? And if you do, like how much you want to charge for the tickets, and this is our cut, and this is how live's cut. And there's also like a merchandise cut, because they usually, sometimes the sorry to say, but shitty venues, they take a cut from the merchandise that the bands are selling, which in my opinion is predatory a little bit. But we are also integrating the merchandise sales directly to the platform. So if band or the artist, they don't have the merchandise, we can arrange it for them through the Printful APIs. But we, of course, we are going to take a cut, but it's like
So you're saying as an add-on, you can have merchandise that people can buy as part of watching the concert. They'll also say, hey, there's a t-shirt, there's a CD, whatever, and they can purchase it right there on the site.
And the idea was, and the idea was that we need to build a UX that you never leave the stream. Everything is happening right there. So you never go to a third-party website.
I thought it was, I checked out one of the streams. I thought it was cool. One of the artists, he was engaging with the fans before the show, and maybe even between songs, he was chatting with them and saying how much he missed doing live in-person performances. This was in the thick of COVID, of course. And it seemed like the fans loved it, of course, as you would, being able to communicate directly with an artist that you're a big fan of. So that's really cool.
Yeah, sort of like a virtual meet and greets. And actually people have been, there's this one platform, I don't remember the name, but they're only doing like half an hour or 1 hour like meet and greets, and fans pay like $60 or something to talk, like 20 people hanging out with their idol, and they've been sold out, like what I've heard. So that would be a good idea. Yeah, that would be a good idea to as a fan. Like I would love to talk to my idols, maybe even if it's 2 minutes. That's probably still an experience.
There was a musician recently, I forget which one. They were selling an NFT, and one of the perks was you got to smoke a virtual joint with them on Zoom.
You got to virtually smoke a joint or smoke a virtual joint?
That's a good question. I mean, basically the joint was real and the meeting of people was virtual.
There you go.
The question is, did they send you a joint of their cannabis, or do you have to find your own? Because I feel like that's part of the experience, I suppose.
Yeah. Along those lines, I was thinking about other ways that you can increase the monetization for an idea like this. One thing that came to mind is the age-old practice of tipping to hear a certain song. Pretty obvious idea, but let's say that you wanted to hear some old song that Paul McCartney never sings anymore. Like he would never sing a Beatles song. If you tip him $1,000, $10,000, who knows, right? Maybe he actually plays it per request.
Yeah, one thing we are also want to develop is to cater for the super fans that really are wealthy and they don't care about, like, I'll give you $5,000 if you do X, and let's keep the OnlyFans aside. But yeah, like my friends were crowdfunding an album a couple of years ago, and they had some super fans that financed the whole thing. Like, hey, here's 5,000. Like, just put my name on the back of the CD. And we should be able to cater, like, okay, if you're wealthy and you want to spend your money on something, like, yeah, but I'm I'm open to that.
Let's facilitate it, right? So we created a list of action steps from this episode that you listened to and put it as part of our podcast release. So I'm just going to read the steps. There's about 8 of them that we listed. So I'll read the step and you'll be like, yeah, we did that, or no, we didn't, or whatever. So the first step was investigate current revenue split for concert venues. Was that a step that you took?
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, search for the managers, decision makers of concerts at large venues.
Yes.
Okay. Contact them via cold call, email, or LinkedIn message.
Yes.
Okay. Offer to run a trial event, which you can help them pre-sell a live stream of their upcoming concert.
Yes.
Wow, that's great. If enough fans buy in.
Yeah, we have actually a lot of like we did a lot of like mobile setup. So I have a mobile setup with robotic cameras that I can take anywhere, and we've been doing a lot of shows anywhere between like Seattle and San Diego here on the West Coast.
Very
so
cool.
I've been driving a lot.
Step 5 was if enough fans buy in, they produce the first event, which you've clearly done. Now, we were kind of assuming you would sort of try to budget to do the production, like you would do the first productions, you would help them produce it. Did you
Yes.
did that sometimes? And we said keep a budget under 10K. Is that a fair budget for producing an event like this on your side?
Too
much, too little?
Sounds show. Like way too much. We're not doing.
Oh, right? Yeah, that's super. That's actually the ballpark number that people think it's going to cost, but the idea with our 100% remote controlled system, depending on the venue size, like UC Theater, which is a big one, or smaller theater, there's a price difference. Like the Fox Theater gear is less than 10K total, and the UC Theater gear costs about 20K, and the idea was to push the production costs near zero. So imagine we have like a remote operator on other time zone where they are not working late, they're working in the morning. Let's say there's somebody in Hawaii and operating a show her morning when it's evening in New York City. So $50 an hour is a good 100, even if it's $100 an hour for someone. And how long are the shows? So it's just the operator cost after purchasing the gear, and it's so cheap that the gear will pay itself back in less than a month if you have just a few shows.
Cool. All right, I'm going to go through the last 3 steps we have here.
Sure.
Number 6, ask the venue to keep your equipment installed and sign them on as a partner. So kind of what you did.
That one we're a little off in that the venues have their own equipment. We were advocating that
sometimes they'd be buying their own gear, and like the Spaghettini, which is a really cool like a jazz venue in LA Seal Beach, they already had their couple of cameras, and they were like, oh, now we have the cameras and the ATEM. They're like, now what? And then then they found us, or we found them. Hey, let's just start streaming, and they've been doing a lot of ticketed shows, and they're super happy with it.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. You've been able to give a little bit more responsibility to the venues, and they've taken it on.
Yes, the idea with us is that we can support the venue at first. Like we can provide the cameras like a testing thing, and then there's multiple like, do you want to buy the gear? Do you want to own the gear? Do you want to lease it from us? Do you want to pay like a rental? So it's ours, but you are just like paying a little bit extra to use it. Or sometimes they want to own it, and they might have their own like people who can do the video switching, and we're trying to build a system that is like so easy to use that you don't really have to do much. It's macro based, and you can like do some automation there. So if the video guy has to go to the bathroom in the middle of the show, no one's going to notice.
So if you really want to get a leg up on the next wave of this, you need to talk to my friends at Arcturus. They do holographic volumetric video. So you get them filming these things live, with their 360-degree cameras, which I know you've experimented with 360-degree view, but this actually would allow you to project a hologram of the concert into people's like homes or something like that.
That seems
or a different venue.
Actually, we are kind of experimenting on that already.
Awesome, very cool.
Yeah, so I'm running Unreal Engine with a really good graphics card, and we are already doing some DJ stuff where DJ can just use the phone, just like Wave XR, but not, but it's just video. And everyone knows how easy it is to remove the background, right? on Zoom.
Right.
So you can embed your transparent video on Unreal Engine and
Very
broadcast from there.
Very cool. Let me get these last two steps. Number 7, find partners and offer a subscription service to fans. Now, it sounds like you have more of a subscription service for the venue owners, but do you also offer subscriptions for the fans? And is it a big part of what you do, or just a small part?
Yeah, that was one of the requests. We already had that a long time ago, like on the features list, that the fans can subscribe to anything they like if they want to subscribe to a venue, but it's we haven't really started that yet. But the first thing we're going to do is to like the Fox Theater here, they requested, hey, can we have subscription system for the venue, and they're going to be the pilot for that type of, before we launch the fan subscription to the platform. And I don't know if we should even have like the platform wide, or should it be just the artists or just the venues. Like there's some ideas, like if a record label, like let's say Napalm Records, releases something, I know them, so it's probably something I like. Or now a venue can build like a reputation, like, hey, it's at the Fox Theater, it's probably something I'm interested in paying for. And having that kind of like a preview, like the first 3 minutes is free and then you have to pay system there. But yes, people want to support their local venues, and let's give them a opportunity to subscribe to some kind of like perks. Okay, $5,000 and you have the VIP seat for a year on the balcony or something like that, and also access to all the streams and recordings and everything.
Yeah, that's fun. The last sort of quote unquote step we had here, which is sort of an alternative to the subscription, wondering if you tried this, it said you could offer a number of credits per month that could be used for various concerts. Is that something you've experimented with, the users getting credits and using them up?
It's complicated. Like actually, the whole thing why I started this company was because I was using unnamed stageit.com for my band's live stream in 2012. So we were a new band. We had like EP out, and we didn't really have a much following other than like from our previous projects. And we decided, okay, we don't want to pay Whiskey A Go Go or other LA venues just to be on stage. So we figured, okay, let's rent a rehearsal studio, a couple of cameras there, and we used this unnamed platform to stream it. And it was a hassle. Like, this credit system is too much work. It needs to be super simple, and people don't want to necessarily like subscribe to everything, and no, we didn't want that.
All right.
Yeah, that's how we are going to assess the crypto payments is unknown so far, but I don't want to do the credits. It's too much work.
Well, it sounds like we were probably 80 to 85% right on track here. So that's it. If you're a Run With It listener, you can increase your confidence level in the type of information you're getting out of us. Applicable information to start businesses.
Yes, inspirational. Yeah, I got to say, your podcast is inspiring.
Oh, we'll hold you to that at the end. We've got a shtick that you're gonna record for us. No, I'm the more we're talking about this, I'm loving this idea still. I remember we were excited about it at the time when we talked about it with Chris, and I think it is the music industry. Everyone knows it's long overdue for a new money-making model. Artists make the majority of their money from live performances.
Yes.
That is clearly an untapped stream in the digital age, and how live is filling that gap. So tell us a little bit about what's next for you? I know that you're raising money. What else is going on?
Yeah, so on the pipeline, we have a lot of ideas. And it's looking like the hybrid events are going to be the thing. So one of the things, if I'm thinking of myself like an artist, and Midnight Symphony is the band, by the way, and we're playing a show in Las Vegas in August 20th, and it's going to be live streamed, and we're trying to figure out like what would be like a good thing. It's a 300 people small venue there, and quite a few bands playing. So what is the hybrid event of the future? And we have some cool ideas for it, and it could involve some virtual reality stuff, and like having these volumetric cameras, or just like an iPhone LiDAR style camera can be good enough for removing the background of the venue and placing you somewhere else, and making the online experience not trying to replicate the live event, but make it for the VR, make it for streaming, not just like shoot the performance and have it on the TV screen. Make it better.
I'm curious actually about the audio component of it. I think the video is the sexier thing that everyone can see, but this is all about music, of course, getting the audio and into that immersive experience, being live. That was the entire thing that Apple is pushing toward with their spatial audio. I see you've got some AirPods on, I've got AirPods. Have you thought about ways to incorporate that into your platform?
Yes. So how we are doing the audio right now is we have the room mics, and then sometimes it's identical to what the people are hearing on the PA. So we have the audio mixer feed stereo, and then we do some compression, EQing it, and making it sure that it sounds good, and that can be automated. And now the sound guys at the venues are doing themselves, so they are mixing the room mics, so it's not 100% from the audio switcher. So you hear the audience and everything, and adding the 360 microphones or multiple microphones at the venue is easy, but I'm not sure how the audio processing would have to be to make it spatial audio. Our CEO actually met one of the Dolby guys and in Half Moon Bay, and we're looking into that definitely, because the immersive audio is the thing that it makes it so much more real. Like the cameras can be like whatever, if the like let's say the drum cam is not exactly the best possible camera, but it's interesting, and the audio is, like you said on the podcast, it's much more important than the cameras.
Also, I'll bring in here, we had another episode featuring a similar idea, not exactly, but involving a lot of the same raw materials. And that was episode 22 with Arthur Revechkis, which is entitled A More Excellent Open Mic for Musicians. So he had an interesting idea, mostly starting with maybe one venue where you really pimp it out, so it's a great place for open mics, but then you kind of create a super open mic where you could feature these interesting artists and people could follow them online and things like this. So yeah, there's maybe even further places to take this or split off or do something interesting with it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of verticals this works with. We have already done like theater stuff and like stand-up comedy. The problem is that the artists, like if I was on stage, there used to be like radio live shows where you are playing in the studio. So during the COVID, one of the artists that was playing in one of the venues that I was just hanging out there, was saying, yeah, this is like without the audience, this is just like playing a radio show, but with video. And I would like to see the audience. And there was a Black Mirror episode where the talent show, and they were looking at the avatars on the screens. So why not equip the venues like on somewhere you would have like screens where you can see the online audience, and that's already working in our like the virtual venue prototype, where you can have the fans even hear them at your virtual space. So the
Ethan,
fan interaction is kind of like this.
Right.
That's where you get the energy when you're on stage.
Yes.
And it's sometimes different as an artist, like live streaming to zero audience. You that don't try to pretend that there's an audience. Use your own like group energy together. Right. Why you don't need to face the fake audience. You can just be together as a band and have the energy and let people see that from outside. And that's another like an approach to the streaming when you don't have the audience. But if you can see the audience in real time, that's totally different, because you can get the energy from the audience and put it back to them, rather than just playing together as a band. But that can also work really well.
Yeah, that was one of the suggestions, Ethan, that you had brought up, is being able to see the listener as they are live streaming you. I want to ask about the fundraising process that you're going through, John.
Go ahead.
Now I'm saying John.
Oh, Johnny boy.
Johnny.
It's Janne.
Janne.
Yeah. Yes.
Janne.
Yes. A Starbucks name is Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy. All right. So, how much money are you looking to raise right now?
We're kind of between we have had 900K during the 4 years from angels, but we have been bootstrapping this. I'm been working mostly full time. I had a short like part-time jobs, which I enjoyed at Apple and Google. So we have some things we need to automate to start scaling fast. Like there's too much manual work at the moment, so we can't really have too many like new venues because we just can't handle them all. So we need some funds to finish the automation and onboarding processes. So I calculated that would be another like 500K to finish that, or we could go directly to the seed round, which I have priced. Maybe we need like 3.5 million to go for like a certain amount of venues that would start producing revenue and profits from the day one. That's the thing. Like we are ready to invest in the equipment to make everything go faster. So instead of trying to sell the gear to the venues, is slower. But if we can have the funds, and that's only like $15,000, $10,000 to $15,000 per venue, to have them, the gear, everything set up. It can be remotely controlled, or you can have somebody in there, like one handheld camera guy. But the robots are increasingly replacing the handheld camera need. There's some venues where you can't have all the cameras where you want. So we have like a wireless system where you can have like a roaming handheld guy there. So we are ready to invest that $15,000 if the venue can start having ticketed shows right away. So we could have the money back super fast, and everybody would be profiting from day one. And that would be like the 3.5 million that we would need for like super fast expansion from there. And once we have the revenue up and running, like then it's a no-brainer to just expand nationwide and we have a lot of contacts in around the world, like Finland, Europe, and others. We wanna because
What
our
are
development.
VCs?
We have development in Finland, by the way.
Yeah. What are VCs telling you when you're talking to them about that money?
We are still in progress. We have some contacts already, and we have got really good feedback, and like our angels and advisors. One of is the ex CTO from Verizon Media. Now he is a CTO of Goldman Sachs, and so quite a few people who are backing us up now, and let's see what happens in the next couple of months. So we are in the progress of closing the sort of like angel round. So if somebody is still interested in coming early to help us out to go to the proper seed round, we're open to it. So we're kind of like an in between, like, should we just, because I'm a first time founder, I've never done this before. And also like the Josh, my co-founder, he's also, we're being entrepreneurs all our lives, but this is our sort of like the first Silicon Valley style startup ever. Yeah.
So if a listener wants to get in on the early floor with Jan here on How Live, what's the minimum investment that you're looking for?
Usually it's been like 25 is the minimum, sort of, but we're open to people like, if you're passionate about like this performing arts and music industry in general, and you have like contacts, it's not really about the money. We just want to build a really good, like a founding team, the early employees, the early investors who are like really passionate about this whole thing. That's the key thing. And if you have something that you want to work with us with and help us out and be part of the like sort of this new movement where you can watch music from around the world 24/7, and it's always live, and so money and passion.
Also, Chris and I are going to have to start our Capello Duo and do some. I don't think I've ever heard you sing, Chris. I'm assuming it's beautiful.
Yeah. So we're closing that angel phase soon, and then focusing on like then the seed run. But it's been like a really gray area nowadays. Like what phase? And now there's like these rolling funds and different new like crowdfunding mechanisms. But we are not super familiar with that stuff. There's so much going on. We need to focus on like the technology and the cameras and other stuff. So if you have knowledge about like what would be the best way, but that's where we are, like somewhere between angel and seed or both.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, that's really great information.
Yeah, it was a pleasure catching up with you here, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Jan.
Jimmy. So this
Janne.
is JANNE, Jimmy.
What do you order at Starbucks? What do you order at Starbucks? Yeah, what drink?
Oh, usually the green tea lemonade is my favorite.
Green tea lemonade?
Yeah.
I got a green tea lemonade for Jimmy.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what
That's
it sounds like.
perfect.
Yeah. My sister is Jana and my brother is Janne. And imagine we all go to Starbucks together. Like,
oh my God.
I would like to film that.
Well, I keep seeing Janne over here. Janne. I'm going to blame it on that for mispronouncing your name. Anyway, Jan, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for sharing.
Likewise. Thank you so much, guys.
It's been a lot of fun. Wish you a ton of success. I'm sure that it will be successful. Again, we're pumped about this idea.
Any social handles you want people to check out or follow you or contact you?
I quit Facebook a long time ago, sort of. I'm posting some music stuff on Instagram, JANNESFO. And Janne Tamminen.
The band is Midnight. Is that your band? Is Midnight Symphony?
Midnight Symphony, yes.
Midnight
Symphony. And if you go check out the YouTube video, it's called New Generation. It's also on Facebook, but that's made totally in Unreal Engine. And that was a zero budget video, but you should really check it out. And I'm just telling that we can do that live.
Perfect.
Whatever you're seeing on the music video can be done live now.
Yeah,
and that's 2 years old already.
We will drop that in the show notes. I'm curious to check that out.
Yes, New Generation by Midnight Symphony.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right, Jan. Well, it was great speaking with you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Could just stay on for a sec.
Mm-hmm.
Stop recording on the live stream.